Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Tennyson E Stead, founding member of the Eight-Sided Films Ensemble, the writer and director of Quantum Theory, coming to you from Los Angeles, California, with another eight-sided video blog. Today, I will discuss with you the production design of Quantum Theory because it is a science fiction film and there are toys, and the toys are fun, and I want to get into just a little bit of what we have planned. And I think just about everybody expects any particular science fiction film to have a lot of effects, and you understand a lot of spectacle in the sense of visuals. And this particular film is very contained in that respect because the story is about people changing reality. So a lot of the sort of magic of the movie happens in the editing room when we switch in between realities and we reveal, where you are from moment to moment and what's going on and what the rules are as they change. There will be some visual effects to accompany that to sort of help spell out what's going on, but the real fun from a design perspective of Quantum Theory, I think, is going to be in the actual technology itself and in the actual physical things that we have to build to make the movie work. One of the first things that we come into that way in the movie is a laboratory that gets built piece by piece using spare parts and whatever these girls can afford with the grant money they've managed to cobble together in their actual apartment. And one of the conversations we've had is exactly how operatic this should be. And one of my ethics when it comes to filmmaking, as everyone knows, is that the film is about the action. So from a directorial standpoint, the production design of Quantum Theory is first and foremost there to lend credence and lend validity to what the actors are doing. The actors are doing some pretty silly things in this movie. They're building a device that changes reality with the power of thought, and then they're running around and stealing things and, playing shadow games with defense contractors, and they're scientists. They're not people who are trained for this kind of activity. So there's a lot of ingenuity and there's a lot of intelligence behind their actions, and at the same time there's also a certain suspension of disbelief that has to take place because, to put it succinctly, they learn how to be intelligence agents very quickly. There's a thriller aspect to the movie, but it's an adventure movie. And what we want the production design to do is say, look, they built something, it's real. It actually was hard to do. None of this is easy, none of it comes easily, none of this is being given to the characters. This is all stuff they had to build themselves, and it's all stuff that they had to think up and come up with and cobble together and figure out how it was going to work. So when we get into the production design, there can't be so much whimsy that it looks like an outside hand, like the hand of a director, came in and made everything work. It has to look like they made it work themselves. And then within that play box, we want it to be fun, and we want it to be silly, and we want it to be the kind of design that conveys a sense of play. But you understand, it has to be the kind of toys that look like they really do what they're supposed to do. And not the kind of toys that you play with to pretend that they do that thing. In other words, the weapons in this movie can't be orange painted, ray guns. They have to be dangerous looking weapons, but cool weapons. When within that sort of danger context, you're like, oh, I could blow something up. You understand? That's the sort of design ethic of Quantum Theory. And certainly in this day and age with the Avengers movies and directors like Neil Blomkamp running around, and a lot of very whimsical and yet very procedural science fiction is taking place right now. I don't think the design of Quantum Theory is going to strike audiences as anything particularly innovative in the tone that it hits, but the level of specificity that we build these things with, and the level of detail that goes into them, and the fact that detail communicates not just that we put a lot of time and attention into these devices, but that the characters themselves actually had to put a lot of time and attention into how this was all going to work. And also that you can see what corners they had to cut. You know, you can see where they had to make compromises, where they didn't have the space they needed and they had to build up instead of out, you know, or where they didn't have all the resources and they went and found something and took it apart and stuck things on there. But all of it very specific and all of it with a story behind it. That's how quantum theory looks. And I don't want to get into too much more detail because the further details belong to Lana Stale, our production designer. And as soon as we get into pre-production, I'm going to have lots of artwork from her to bring to you so I can show you the visual landscape of the film as it unfolds. But I can tell you that the world that we're building is a very exciting, very dynamic world. And then as we go into the post-production process and we start dealing with some of the visual effects of how this technology works, there again, what we're actually doing is we're watching action. We're watching characters use these toys to cut into the fabric of the universe and make changes. And what does it look like when they do that? It can't look like the effect is there to be fun. It has to look like the effect is there because that's what these characters are doing. And then within that, it happens to be the case that they're doing something very exciting. So that's how the visual sort of aesthetic of quantum theory is going to evolve. Just wanted to take a moment and talk about that. And now I have. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you very much for your support and for following our web blog and for following us on Twitter, however you're in touch. And I will talk to you anon. Tennyson out.